So this is our second class. So welcome. We are doing this text called Aparokshanubhuti, which literally translates to the direct perception. Um, and we start our class with like a 15 to 20 minute meditation. I would say 15-minute meditation, and it's a guided meditation. So if I know you've meditated before, so you can feel free to ignore what I'm saying, or you can follow along too. Okay, let's begin. All right, let's start the meditation by closing our eyes, sitting up straight, just taking a few deep conscious breaths. While you're taking these longer breaths, just notice if you're feeling any tension, if you're feeling any stress in any muscle or any part of the body. And just imagine you inhaling, and on the exhale, you're releasing that stress. You can use this exhale as a relaxation tool to just kind of let go, get the weight off the shoulders. You can also gently scan your body, starting from the top of your head, moving your attention down, just noticing any cricks or any strains that you might encounter. Just continuing to breathe into that part if you do, and on the exhale, try and see if you can release some of that. Continue scanning your body, maybe going further down into your chest, your stomach, your back, lower back. Just kind of getting in touch with what's happening in the body. So we're gonna do a meditation which is very fundamental in the Advaita Vedanta world. It's called subject-object discrimination. So in this meditation, we are going to notice objects of experience. So we start with the most distant object. Maybe you're hearing sounds in the background, maybe some buzzing, maybe some birds if you're outside. Maybe you're hearing this voice from the speaker. So that sound is an object of perception. I am the subject. I hear the sound. I'm not the sound, I'm the knower of the sound. So we can notice the different sounds, even if they're far away or even close by. You experience the sound in the same way. Me, the subject, knows the sound. We can move to a different sense. We have our eyes closed, but maybe there's some light that you may notice filtering through the eyelids. just see darkness. So, darkness is known, speckles of light is also known by me, the subject. This knowing is the same knowing that's happening with the sound that I hear as well. The sound is known, the darkness is known. If you take a deep breath, if you have a smell that's lingering, that too is known in the same way by me. I am the subject, the smell, the object of perception, darkness, smell, they are objects known by me. I am not the darkness that I see. I am the knower of it. So we can move to a subtler sense object. Maybe you can notice any sensations in the body. If you take a deep breath, you notice the expansion of the lungs and the contraction of the lungs, the air going in the lungs. I know the breath. I am the subject. The breath is an object of my perception. I know the breath in the same way as I know the sound. I am not the breath. I am the knower of the breath. If you feel any sensations on the surface of the body, maybe the sensations of the clothes that you're wearing, the sensation of the chair against your skin, or wherever you're sitting, the cushion. I know the sensation. I am the subject. Sensation is the object of perception. The sensation on my skin is known in the same way as the sound is known, darkness is known, the breath is known. I can move to something more subtle than the sensation and the breath. If I notice the quality of my mind, might be feeling a little tired, might be feeling sleepy, might be feeling awake, might be feeling irritated, might be feeling happy. I know this state of my mind, this emotive quality, the same way. It is an object of perception. It's just a little bit subtler, you can say, than the sound that I hear in the distance. If I notice my energy, I can say I have low energy today, feeling a little tired, maybe I have high energy right now. This energy is also noticed by me. It is an object of perception. Sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low. I am the knower of this energy. I am not the energy. You can go even subtler at the realm of thoughts. I can think about all the things that I want to do tomorrow or today, my plans. I can think of the things that I did today or yesterday. Those thoughts appear and are known by me in the same way that I notice the energy, I notice my emotions, I notice the sounds, the sensations. They are all known by me, and they are known in the same way. I just have to direct my attention, and it's known by itself. Maybe you can start to get the sense of this field in which all these sense objects are known. This field might seem like a vast space, or it might seem like a point. But it is outside of dimension. Sounds exist in this field. Thoughts are known. Body sensations are known. And I am ever the knower of it all. So we want to keep noticing this fact that the objects change, thoughts change, emotions change, sensations change. But me, the knower of it all, remains unchanged, untouched, if I think of something that brings me joy, the knower of that thought reveals it in the same way as if I think of something that brings me fear or anger. Might notice the emotion that the thought brings up, and I notice it in the same way. So we want to keep our attention introverted and place it on this field of knowing, this remove it from the changing objects. We can notice the objects changing, sounds appearing, thoughts appearing. We don't want to get too caught up in stories about the thoughts or the emotions. Now try to see if we can place ourselves in a position where the thoughts are just flowing by, kind of like sitting on a bank of a river and just watching the river flow. Some thoughts might be luring you to want to get involved and solve the problem that the thought is proposing. But we want to develop this capacity to say, nope, I'm not going to go there. I see you and I see you flow by. So see if you can place yourself on the banks of your own stream of consciousness. Thoughts, emotions, sensations, they are all flowing, and you are watching it without it affecting anything about you. If you find yourself lost in thought or some emotion, you can always bring yourself back into this position of noticing again. This place on the bank is always available. You just have to notice it, and voila, we are there. So don't be disappointed if you can't stay on the banks for too long. You just want to start to get more and more familiar with sitting on this bank. We don't have to create this position on the bank. It is there, available at any time during the day or night. Try to see if you can stay here. See how long before you get involved in a thought. let's end this meditation by chanting Om 3 times. So you can repeat after me. All right. Okay, so we're going to study this text. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully you can see it. Okay, so the last class we did the first 6 verses. Abhijit, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. That's fine. So maybe just to give you a quick summary of what we studied so far. So this book has been written by Adi Shankara. He's considered one of the saviors, you can say, or a great figure in the Advaita Vedanta frame. He was born in the 8th century and he traveled all over India to revive the I guess the population and move them from a very ritualistic place to essentially really thinking about doing self inquiry and meditation. And this book has been attributed to Adi Shankara, but nobody knows for sure because most of his students would just write something and say it, give credit to their teacher. So it's like very hard to say it, but many people claim that this has been written by Adi Shankaracharya. Anyway, this is one of the workbooks. It's like a workbook. I think this is slightly different than some of the other texts like Viveka Chudamani, which are more thorough and dense. But what do you mean by a workbook? It essentially has a system and a process that you can follow, and the book explores different aspects of human experience, and it moves us from a gross level to a subtler level and a subtler level to the subtlest, and helping us pay attention to the parts of the experience that the book is pointing to, and really shed light into like what are some of the assumptions that I had about that particular aspect of my human experience and whether it is true or not. And it will present ideas which we will have to verify in our own experience. So it's a very, you can say, subjective scientific exploration. So the book only helps if you practice the ideas in your own experience, because it isn't just an intellectual accumulation of ideas. Because at one level, we do have to intellectually understand them, but at the deepest level, we have to make it our own. And the text of the name of this text is what it is all about. It is the direct perception, which is I need to directly experience it. So this book starts off. I think it starts off by identifying with the mind. So we are all like human beings. We are different than some of these other creatures that exist in the world. The difference is that we have been given a very well-developed human mind. And so we start off by describing what are some of the qualifications of the mind that are needed for this work to be successful. The first two that we explored, the first one is vairagya, which is dispassion. Who can tell me what the second one was?
Viveka.
Viveka. And what does that mean?
Discrimination.
Discrimination. And so, dispassion is unfortunately a very corrupted term in this day and age. Most people think of dispassion as something negative and almost like miserly in some ways, which is I need to become a beggar and go around and become a monk and give up all of my material things that I have. Right, that's kind of the usual understanding of dispassion. And this actually explains it in a very different way. It says vairagya is essentially the giving up of attachments to sensual pleasures, specifically attachments. It doesn't say giving up sensual pleasures. It says giving up the attachment to sensual pleasures. And how do we do that? It is by the steady and continuous contemplation of the defects of the said attachment. And so I think we just started to talk about it, right? And the reason why we have to contemplate the defects is because whenever we are attached to something, we don't really see the defects of it. And we only see the positive aspects of it, which is why we are attached, which is why it feels very appealing for me to continue to be attached. Because it's of course, I will be attached. It gives me so much joy, the positive. But if we also balance it with the negative, then we will start to have a holistic perspective of the object of desire, which is my attachment. And then through that process of seeing, there might come an insight that, this is not 100% amazing like I thought it was. There are some aspects of it which are not amazing. And so through that, the quality of our attachment starts to change. And it doesn't happen overnight because we have built this attachment for, our entire life. But with this attitude, something starts to shift. And so we're talking about developing an attitude and not so much as, I press this button and something happens, right? It's something that has to really sink into our subconscious. So that was dispassion. The second one is viveka, which means discrimination. And there is only one kind of discrimination that we really care about in this work, because this is this is considered one of the most direct paths to realization. And the reason is because we directly go to what is true. It's I am searching for the thing that is truth. And how do we define truth? We define truth as something that cannot be negated. Because if it can be negated, it is a temporary thing and it is not absolutely true and existing at all times. And so that's the, if that is my goal, that I want the ultimate truth, I don't care about anything else, then our sort of flight into this work is going to be really fast, because along the way we are always distracted by things which are ephemeral, right? I want a successful worldly life, I want a bunch of other things, I want approval, I want love, I want all these things. And those are worthy things to have, but they are not ultimate truth. So the only thing that this work gives us is ultimate truth, unfortunately, which doesn't really change our life in any way, like our sort of worldly life, but our experience of it 100% changes. And so, it can get a little like, um, it is a little harsh, you can say, in the sense that everything has to go from our attachment perspective. Everything. We can't hold on to even one single attachment, because we start to see the pain of it, and it, at some point we will be, you can say, through insight we will have to let it go, because we will start to see that thing is too painful to hold on to. So it is a natural sort of evolution which does happen, but we are here and we are trying to consciously evolve to that place. The other interesting thing is, like, everybody is on the path to self-realization. It's just that everyone is taking a, meandering and moving along, and eventually will get there, because at the end of the day everyone wants happiness, everyone wants to be satisfied, everyone wants to be fulfilled. It's just that we think fulfillment, happiness, satisfaction is out there. And so this path is essentially saying, hold on a minute, let's try to see, why do I have, well, like, firstly, what are my assumptions, and are those assumptions true? And if they're not true, can I let them go? Okay, so I think that's a good high level overview, but we can get into the text. Any questions, Abhijit, or anyone else?
No, just trying to follow.
Yeah. Cool.
At some point it will come.
Okay. Great. And so the other cool thing about this work is it is a very questions are welcome, because they are the ways in which both my understanding and your understanding will improve and will meet. And so it's very important to sort of work the mind and ask questions. So, all right. So I think we were on verse 6, if I remember, right? Or verse 7. We were verse 7, I think. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 5 was Viveko. We should start at 6.
Okay, let's start at 6. Sadeva vasana tyaga shamo yamiti shabditaha nigraho bahya vrittinam dhamma ityabhidhiyate. So the English: abandonment of desires at all times is called shama, and restraint of the external functions of the organs is called dhamma. Okay, so we started, the next set of qualifications of a fit student. And so shama and dhamma are essentially, usually they are grouped in this gang of 6 is what they've called. But in this text we are only caring about 2. So the other interesting thing about this work, Abhijit, is that usually the first, you'll find a lot of lists in this work, and it's always in the highest priority order. So the first one is always the highest priority. So in this work, the first one was vairagya, which is dispassion, and then viveka. So those two are the most primary important things, and then these are some of these other aspects which are also important. So shama. So shama is the abandonment of desires at all times. And what are usually our desires? They are essentially like thoughts that we have, right? So we're constantly kind of thinking about the things that we don't have, or thinking about things that we want, or thinking about the qualities that we want to let go of. It's always like, I want to change. Usually it's like, either change me or change the world. So those are a set of desires. And we have to think of energy conservation in this work too. Very important to think about energy conservation. It's like, how much energy am I spending thinking about something that I don't have? And what does that actually do? Does it actually give me the thing that I don't have? Is it a constructive use of my energy? Is it a destructive use of my energy? All of this is sort of happening through this self-observation, right? We are starting to become woke, which is I'm awake to how my mind is operating, where my mind goes, how long am I engaged in that sort of world of thinking. And so we're getting very familiar with like, oh, my mind has this desire. Maybe there is a theme of my desires. Maybe my, for personally, I can say for me, it was like validation. Theme of my desire is constantly seeking validation from people and things, family, all the sort of social, like everyone needs to know how important I am, right? Validation. So that was my theme of thinking. How much energy goes there? And to see the pain of it. It's not just like, the seeing that this is what I'm doing, but also seeing that it's causing so much misery of like I'm unsatisfied with what is right now, and I want something more, which is somebody to say some words and look at me, right? So I'm so just noticing all of that, and so we have to start to develop this capacity to say, oh, I'm not going to go there, because I have learned through observation that it is a wastage of energy, causes me suffering, I feel shitty, and so that will bring about the first thing, which is dispassion. So you're becoming less and less attached to my in this case I was attached to validation, so less and less attached. So that is Shama. So that is from like the internal energy usage, right? So our mind is like a huge consumer of our energy. The second is Dhamma, and he calls it the restraint of external functions of organs. And so so that's like our physical organs. So in this work we have like, the physicals are like hands, feet, what is it? Genitals, anus, and mouth, speech. So those are the ways in which our external organs of actions operate. And so that too, we need to just become more and more sensitive to like what is it doing? Am I constantly blabbering when I don't need to? Why am I blabbering? Like, what am I seeking? Is it actually something that I'm contributing, or is it because I just can't help myself? Do I feel too restless to be with the restlessness, so I need to keep blabbering, right? So there could be many reasons. Like, and everybody has a unique set of the web. Everyone has a unique web, but essentially it's like restraining. Can I also have this practice of restraining my body, my mouth, my desire to wanting to maybe sexually express myself. All of those are optional in many times, right? And am I doing it out of compulsion, or am I doing it out of a conscious expression? And so there's not a moral issue also, FYI, it's just starting to notice where and how am I losing energy. And once you start to get sensitive about the fact that I'm losing energy, and if you care about like not losing energy, then you won't, right? So it's like this, it's like a self-healing thing that starts to happen, because we start to notice all of the different holes in our bucket, and then we can maybe start to plug one or two. And once we start to plug one bucket and we see that, oh wow, I'm actually have more energy, then we will see the benefit of it, and then the other holes will become easier to plug. So that's what Shama and Dhamma is. So you can think of it as like internal expression of energy and external expression of energy. And not to say you don't need to do that. Many times you do, but are you doing it consciously or are you doing it unconsciously is the only thing that we can notice. And if you're doing it unconsciously, there is a way to make it conscious, and then the expression of it will change, and it's not going to be a wastage of energy then. You look very skeptical.
It's not skeptical. There's one thing you said which I think is not simple. I don't know. You just said it as an example. Oh, someone to say some words and look at me. I think you called it validation.
Validation, yes.
But I feel like it's huge. It feels very difficult to.
I never said it is easy. I said it is simple but not easy. So we can try to make it very complex and difficult, or we can make it simple and difficult. And so then the simplicity of it makes it easier to do, but it doesn't mean that we'll be good at it. It just means that it will take time and some level of competency in our own minds and our own understanding, and the more we do it, the better we get. We fall hard in the beginning, but then our impact gets lesser and lesser. The pain of that gets lesser and lesser. So, yeah.
Have you fallen? Name once when it got lesser.
Yeah, but the good thing is this is psychological hurt. It's not a physical hurt. So psychologically it pains a lot, but then psychologically, the pain of it can be reduced. Because we are the ones who are falling. I mean, we are the ones who are kicking our own selves. So we realize the force of our kick becomes lesser and lesser. It's like, the self, let's say I'm working with like self-critical voice. In the beginning, I'm just like so harsh on myself. How could I do this? You're such a fool. That's me shouting at myself and me feeling bad. Right? So in the beginning, I'm just like, oh, wow, I'm doing this because I did it for my whole life and it's a habit. But now I start to notice that, oh, I'm doing it and it feels horrible. And I did it. It feels horrible. I feel the pain. And maybe it's like, okay, next time, the mind has recorded the memory in a very different way now because I have been paying attention. Next time I do it, might still do it, but there might be a slight change. Because of the previous memory. And then again, if I'm paying attention, I'm constantly paying attention that I keep doing this, and I feel shitty. Then the brain starts to make connections that this action leads to this outcome. If I put my hand in the fire, I get burnt. Maybe I won't put my hand in the fire next time, but I continue to put my hand in the fire. But over a period of time, something changes. You just have to trust that there is an intelligence that's operating. And that intelligence will stop doing things that... So the other interesting thing is most of our self-injuring actions are done from a place of unconsciousness. We would never consciously hit ourselves, right? Like who would? It's just that we unconsciously do it because we don't have the sensitivity, or we are too distracted into something else where we notice where did this hand come and slap my face, right? I only noticed that, oh wow, I just got slapped by my own hand. But if I were to widen my scope of attention, then I can notice that the hand is feeling restless and it wants to slap somebody. Unfortunately, there's nobody around, so I end up slapping myself. And so once you start to see that, then you will be like, actually, I don't want to slap myself. But for the most part, we are blind to that. And so we just end up with a slap, and then you're just like, who slapped me? The world slapped me. The world sucks. And then we blame somebody outside. And so nobody did it to us. Okay, so that's Shama and Dama. And whenever we kind of feel that, our practice is a little stalled, usually it's a good thing to go back and look at these qualifications of the mind and do some sort of metrics, what's the word? Like a tune-up, I guess, or like going to like service and just seeing the different levels of these different things to see where am I lacking. Is it in the Shama part? Is it in the Dhamma part? Is it in the Viveka? Is it in the Vairagya? Which part is... Because all of them needs to be developed. And it's like it's like a, what's the word, gradient, right? It's not like a binary that you either have it or you don't. It's something that can improve.
In some people.
All right, let's do verse 7. Vishayebhya paravritti paramo paramopartirhi sa sahanam sarvadukhanam titiksha sa shubhamata. Okay, so turning away completely from all sense objects is the height of uparati, and the patient endurance of all sorrow or pain is known as titiksha, which is conducive to happiness. All right, so uparati is a practice too. So, in meditation, what we were practicing today was kind of a practice of uparati, which is like I am getting into the place of observation, sitting on the banks of my human experience, where all these different thoughts, emotions, sounds, which are not in my control, are just appearing. And I am just sitting and keeping my energy in here and not getting pulled into like, oh, this thought about my neighbor or this thought about my boss, and getting attracted by the story and then kind of getting lost in the story. So I'm just conserving my energy, staying here, and just watching, trying to be as close, like holding my energy here, like almost like you're gathering your energy, like what is that show we used to watch, Dragon Ball Z, right? Like you're just like here, and all these thoughts are going to flow by. You're going to feel different sensations. You're going to be like, oh, that's fear, or like, oh, that's anger, all these things. And you might, because you start to name things, then you like fear. Oh, what are my fears? Oh, this person in my job is like a scary person, or this teacher, or something, right? Like we'll start, it's so crazy how fast it works, but we start to notice that this is how my mind operates, and then we make a strong sort of determination to practice this uparati, which is I will stay with my energy and my attention here, and I won't get pulled into these different things which are so sexy that I want to get kind of caught up. So that's uparati. And then the other thing is the endurance of all sorrow and or pain. And so this is harsh, but it has to happen, which is we need to feel sorrow and pain. It's like our habitual tendency is to escape and not feel sorrow and pain. And so some people, translate this as, so the word is titiksha, which is the pinpricks of life. But that doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, somebody said something harsh to me and so I'm feeling, sad. It's also what ends up happening is that in meditation, we have these unprocessed impressions of the past, which are painful, and they will start to, the pressure of those impressions will start to bubble up to the surface. And that is going to feel really horrible. Like, trust me, it is like the worst feeling ever. But we have to develop the capacity to stay with it. To be like, okay, there is deep amounts of grief coming up. I'm going to stay with it. I have to cry. I will cry. I have to shake. I will shake. I have to, scream. I will scream. But I will not distract myself from this place. And over time, it will pass. And so we will have that, and that is the sort of benefit of this titiksha, which is we start to see that no matter the intensity of the pain and the sorrow, it is all temporary. So we can then start to have an attitude of, let's see how long this lasts. Let's see how long this pain is there in my body. Not easy. It's simple, but not easy. And so that is titiksha. And so these are all qualities that we want to develop, right? It's not about, oh, if you don't have this quality, you can't do this work. It's more like these qualities, every human being has the seeds in place to do it, and we do it, right? Even at work, like we do things that no, somebody who hasn't had the experience will just be like, how the hell did you do this? How did you bear the pressure and the pain and all of that, right? But you did it. In the same way, like this work also, like you start off by, you're like, oh my god, I'm reading this sounds insane, how is this possible? But as you do it, as you get experience, as you practice, as you are more awake to what is happening, you will just get good at it. It's like riding a bike. You will fall, but at some point you will learn how to ride the bike. Then you will learn how to maybe do wheelies, or like front wheelies, or like jumps. And those are all different kinds of skills, but they all too can be learned, right? So the great thing about this is that you don't need any tool, no external acquisition. This is an inside job. You have all of the tools necessary to start. All you have to do is start, and start slow. Like, don't be so harsh on yourself. Be gentle, and yeah, take it slow. Any thoughts about this?
I'm scared.
Yeah. It's okay. That's a human emotion. Fear is okay. So then, how do I hold fear? Yeah, Abhijit, you can, say anything at any time.
Oh, okay. No, sure. She said, she's scared. How did she come up with that feeling of scared based on this words that we are studying?
Because I think I'm scared of what this is expecting, the strength this is expecting me to have. That's what I'm saying I'm scared of. I'm scared of this work because this idea of titiksha seems very difficult, and I don't want to sit with my pain. I don't want to, because it's hard. I like escaping. Escaping is easy. And that's what I'm saying.
Yes, escaping is easy, and then at some point you will be sick and tired of escaping. Right. Until that happens. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, what is the other side of not doing it or trying to escape that fear? What is it? What does that do? If this looks too hard, I don't want to do it. What is the cost of not doing it? Do you feel less scared, less fear, if you don't have to do it?
Maybe because because the illusion of that is feels like easy.
There is great comfort in not looking at our shadow.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Well, the good thing about this is, like, we don't have to directly look at the shadow. It's like it's kind of like the rain is falling and our car is getting cleaned by the rain, versus you going to a crazy car wash and getting an intense scrub and then your car comes out clean. So the analogy is that there is this natural cleansing that starts to happen, which is more gentler because of the fact that you only kind of accept what you can handle, right? So if your capacity is like, oh, that part of it is too much, is too scared, you won't go there anyways. Right? Like, your mind won't go there. It will come up with some other thing. It's like, but then that's okay, because then your regular other life will also have things that your mind will be able to deal with in a much more different way, which stop will maybe plug a smaller hole in the bucket, right? There's a bucket which is leaking energy. There's this big hole that you do not want to plug, because it's like too big. You don't have the energy and the strength maybe to do that, but you have the energy and strength to plug these small holes. And once you start plugging these small holes, your capacity to plug slightly bigger hole will be there. Slightly bigger hole will be there, and at some point you'll be like, okay, let's try to see what happens when I plug this. So it just comes with experience. It's like, you've been in the software industry for how long now?
Yeah, more than 10 years.
Okay. If you were a first year engineer entering the work, and the work that you're doing now, first year person will be like, let's say gets a project that you are doing, they can't handle it, right? They can't. You probably couldn't handle it when you were in your first year, but now you can. So it's the same. You just have to start small, slow, and I know the mind always wants to think of the final outcome, which is, when will I be fully free, right? And that sounds much more harder than it needs to be, because we don't know what we are going to encounter on the path, and how that changes.
I can totally resonate with the fear aspect. It's like, let's say, for example, how we discussed giving up certain worldly desires. And one aspect of it is, okay, trying to give it up, and then you have a lot of desires, and you have to learn how to deal with those desires without succumbing to it. That in itself is quite a challenge. And the other aspect which I find quite challenging is holding yourself accountable to it, right? Like,
Oh my
it's
God,
not
yes.
like somebody else is always going to be there watching over you, making sure that you're not doing it or able to resist or something. And I find that to be sort of the hardest part. And then finding something else to do with that time, or whatever extra energy that you get. So there's a lot of unknowns which are there, which is, I guess, scary. So I can totally understand those fears.
Yeah, and be awake to the fear too. The fact that there is fear, it's okay. It's like what Abhijit was saying. What is the alternative? You have now seen the fear, and now you, unfortunately, in this work, once you have seen the fear, you're screwed. Because you're like, oh, now I want to get rid of the fear, because that's the natural human response to its own suffering. It's always like, once I've seen something that is causing suffering, then I'm like, oh, I need to somehow resolve it. And so it will happen. Just be kind and gentle. No hurry. Okay. Good conversation.
Yeah.
Thanks, Niladri. Alright, so let's do the next verse. Why is it not changing? Nigamacharya vakyeshu bhakti shraddheti vishruta chittai kagram tu sallakshye samadhanam iti smritam. So the renowned Shraddha is to have full and implicit devotion in the sayings of the scriptures and the preceptor. To keep the single-pointed mind constantly on the truth, the goal is known as samadhana. Okay, so we have two more. So they're doing all of the 6 actually, so I was wrong. So the gang of 6. So the 5th one is Shraddha, which is translated usually as faith or devotion. And in this case, they're saying, devotion to the teachings of the scriptures and to the person who is, saying the mouthpiece of the scriptures. And it essentially is saying that, at some point I need to trust that this is going to work. So there's different kinds of trust here. One is that I trust that the scriptures are pointing in with a path that is going to lead in the direction that I think that's like liberation. That this is true. That is one. So you're like faith in like the scriptures. One of the more important faiths is like faith that I can do it, that I have the capacity to do this work, because that's also very, very important. Because if I think that, what, all these people here, they are special, like I am actually like, this is not for me, and then that can kind of become a barrier in us actually moving forward, because then we are always going to be doubting our own capacities. So we need to develop this sort of shraddha in both aspects. It's almost like, we want to also notice that, in different aspects of our life, we do have devotion. We can say we're devoted to some idea, maybe non-violence, maybe, justice in some way, maybe devoted to some art endeavor or some skill, like, wherever we find ourselves applying love to the activity, you can say is devotion. And so when we compare that sort of action that we put forth in those places where we identify ourselves as devoted, that is the quality that you want to bring to this work too, which is like, I am devoted to myself, I'm devoted to my own healing, to my own growth, to liberation. Like I'm, I can develop the quality of devotion. And if it doesn't make sense in this thing just yet, that's fine too, because again, this is a quality to develop. It doesn't mean that you either have it or don't. So if we don't have the devotion, it just means that we have the opportunity to develop it. And how do we develop it? We can look at our other aspects of our life where we are devoted and just develop that. We just want to develop devotion. Doesn't matter where it is, to be honest. Because whenever we are devoted, we have full faith in myself and the activity. That's why we love it. And so we need to find or identify. I'm sure that everyone has something in their lives that they love doing. And so, like, how do we sort of kindle that aspect of us? And so that is Shraddha. The sixth one is Samadhana. And that is similar to what we find in the Raja Yoga too. So in the Raja Yoga world, you would have heard the term dharana, which is like single-pointed attention. So it's the same thing. So can I keep my mind pointedly on any action, actually? This is saying on the truth, which is the goal, but can I develop the capacity to be single-pointed? When I'm walking, I'm just walking. When I'm washing dishes, I'm just washing dishes. When I'm folding clothes, I'm just folding clothes. When I'm eating, it's hard to do. I'm just eating. And it's like eating and watching TV. Or when I'm watching TV, I'm just watching TV. Not watching TV and scrolling and, doing 100 things. Like, it is, we are in a world where multitasking is somehow very encouraged. But, at some point, like, we can start to see that, even when we are multitasking, can I be single tasking at the point of doing one action? So I'm like 100% focused on this, then I'm 100% focused on the second thing, even though that switch might be like a few seconds here, doing one thing and a few seconds doing one thing, but 100% there, 100% attention to the person you're, gone out to lunch with, 100% attention to the call. And again, this is a quality, right? So this isn't something that we either, have or don't, but we can start to develop it and start to improve it. And the reason is because a single-pointed mind is as good as no mind. So when the mind is fully still, and focused on one thought, which is whatever action that you're doing. It's the same way as like samadhi, which is when your mind kind of dissolves and there's no thought, which is why like the flow state feels very good, because you're kind of single pointed, you're just flowing and you're not thinking about what do they think of me, what are my problems in life. All of that is gone. So again, this is a quality to develop. Cool. So this was the sixth one. And so just to recap, what are the six?
Vairagya.
That's not the sixth. I mean, that's not the gang of six.
Oh, gang of six.
What is the gang of six?
Does someone else want to go? I'm sitting next to him, so
So we just did 5 and 6, Shraddha and Samadhana. What was before that?
Sama, Dhamma.
Shama and Dhamma were the first two.
Yeah.
And
I'm looking at the
Titiksha.
text. And
what was the
correct.
Uparati and
Uparati and
Titiksha?
Titiksha.
So what was
Sama,
Shama?
Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha. Sama is abandonment of the worldly.
Yeah, so Shama is like desires. So
Yeah,
so think
desires.
of energy, mental energy and physical energy. Shama and Dhamma. Uparati. Huh?
So I just remember up because it starts with up.
I also forgot what Uparati is. But so Titiksha is the pinpricks of life. So turning away from all sense objects is Uparati. So doing, sitting on the banks of the river of your own mind is Uparati. And then we have the two that we just did. Shraddha, which is devotion, faith. Most important devotion and faith is in your own self. And so start to develop that. Believe that you can do it. You are, capable, strong, have the potential to do anything. That's the devotion. Very important. And then last one is Samadhana, which is to single-pointedly focus on basically anything. Okay, that was verse 8. Any thoughts and questions about the gang of six? Okay. Verse 9. Sansara bandha muktihi katham syame dayanidhe iti ya sudridha buddhi vaktavya sa mumukshuta. O ocean of mercy, how can the liberation from this world and its bondage come to me? Such deep desire for liberation is termed mumukshutva, or mumukshuta in this case. So essentially, the pain of this world firstly needs to be apparent. Right? I think if a person who thinks this world is 100% pleasant and is amazing and is beautiful will not consider the possibility of seeking something else, because they're quite satisfied.
They're definitely not reading this book.
And they're definitely not reading this book. And so I guess this book doesn't really talk about it, but in Vivekachudamani, he, which is another text which is much more thorough than this one. This book is around like 160 something verses. Vivekachudamani is 567 verses, I think. And so much more detailed. And they both attributed to the same author. But in that, he says there's a certain kind of person for whom this work is going to be, is even attractive. It's like one is a person who has seen the ups and downs of life. It's like you've got some successes, you've got some failures, and now you're basically thinking like, what else is there? Like, is this it? Am I just going to keep getting red lights and then green lights and then red lights and then green lights and then die? Is that it? To a person who is in the heaven realm, which means that they are in this opulent world where they have everything, no question of like unhappiness at all, then like at least the physical, maybe even emotionally, they're very fine. They wouldn't even consider this as a option. Like, why would you? It's like only people who are miserly will be like, want to do something like this. And so that person, this work isn't going to even be attractive. Person who is in the hell realm, who is like, somebody who may not have enough to make ends meet, who's constantly worried about like starving, maybe they are in a war-torn area, right? Like those people also don't have the capacity, mental capacity to even think about this. Only in the middle band, which is like you're safe, you have like most of the basic needs of life, and now you're like, what more? That is so the fact that that is true for all of us here, then you have to be even more lucky, which is to basically even have heard about something like this. Most people don't even like go through their entire life without even knowing that this is possible. So that's the even more like luck that we have to be born. So firstly, to be born as a human being, you could have been born as like a cockroach, or a grasshopper, or a bird, or any other thing. None of those animals have, at least that we know of, have the capacity to like think and discriminate. Maybe that's fine. But like we have been born as a human being. Now being in touch with this teaching is another quite an insane occurrence, like a miracle of like being able to like come across this and even think about wanting to explore it. Think about like all of the different things that needed to happen to get you to this place where you are now considering the idea of liberation. Like it is like the probability keeps going lower and lower and lower, and then lastly it's like finding a tradition that's even like valid. There are many valid paths, by the way. It's not like Advaita Vedanta is the only path, but there are very powerful valid paths that exist, and this is one of those powerful paths. And to find some path where there is a active and alive tradition, like this isn't something that we're just reading something somebody who wrote something like thousands of years ago and then it died, and then nobody has continued the tradition, and now we're just kind of trying to interpret what has happened. This is a living tradition, which means that there are masters who have come from generation to generation and transmitted the knowledge and teachings, and this is something that works. And so like think about like how lucky and all of the various things have had to happen for us to be at this place, and so that is the glory of a human birth. And so once we have asked the question, which is there liberation from this bondage and misery? Once we have asked the question, that question needs to become louder and louder in our minds. Because that desire to solve that question all of our energy will start getting directed into that place. And all of these other things that we are scared about in the world and this and that, they will start to wither away. They'll start to wither away because our attention is not going to be there. It's like we need we studied the law of entropy in school, which means that everything is kind of falling apart. And a lot of energy has to be put into place to keep things in place. And which includes all of our fears and anger issues and all of those other things. They all need to be constantly be fed to continue to be maintained. And who is feeding all of those things? We are only feeding all of those things. And so once our energy starts to be directed into a different path, to a different line, then we only have X amount of energy, right? So it's natural that if we are only putting energy here, then these things start to degrade. And they will degrade. And so we need to develop this mumukshutva, as he calls it. It's like the burning desire for liberation. It's like I am being burnt and it sucks and I want to be free. So feeling the pain is very important. because only if we feel the pain will we realize how much we are burning. Otherwise, we will be in the almost like in the heaven realm, because like we are not even aware that we are burning. And it's like that meme where the dog is in,
burning.
and like everything's fine, right? And so it is important to it is important to be able to feel the pain, like Bernie Sanders says, feel the burn. But that was mumukshutva. So I think that is the last qualification, but maybe there's one more. I forget. Let's do another one and then we can stop. Or does anyone have questions about mumukshutva?
Do you have it? The burning desire for liberation?
Yes.
Okay.
So is that something which comes as you practice the things, or is
Yes.
it like
Yeah.
inherently you need to have it and then only yeah.
Well, you certainly want to have the desire to be free. Whether or not if it's burning is just a question of how much fire is around you, right? Like the feeling the pain of suffering needs to be apparent. Like I think maybe that's something that's maybe more easier to relate to, which is I feel the pain of human existence.
Right.
And the second part of your question, yes, it is something that which can be developed. So these are all qualities of the mind. These are not binary things. And so as we pay more attention, as we study the scriptures, as we practice, as we learn more about our own qualities and defects, all of that is essentially going to tune up these different knobs, these 8 qualities that we have, or this is the 9th one actually, 9 qualities that we have studied so far. And they all kind of are connected.
It's like you probably don't know what liberation or freedom is, right? So without experiencing it, so how do you have a desire for it without knowing what it is?
Right. Which is why we have to focus on the fact. We have to focus on the fact that I am suffering and it is painful. So it's not like we are moving away into an idea of what liberation is. It's we are feeling the pain and saying, oh my God, I am suffering. I want to be free from this pain. Right? Mm-hmm. Rather than saying, oh, I want that liberation thing over there. Like, you can't see me pointing. There. Right? We don't want to like that. So because that was also going to be an escape. We always want to stay with what is true. And so for me, what is true is that I am suffering. I want to be free from my suffering. Like I want the suffering to end. Is it possible for this? I want the suffering to end. Oh, worldly universe, the intelligence, free me from this suffering. That is sort of the desire, right? Free me from this suffering. Not give me enlightenment because that's cool. Because that's an idea. And that's what you were alluding to, right, Niladri?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's something that also is developed and increases over time. It's like a feedback loop essentially. It's like as you start to gain more and more confidence in myself, the feedback loop keeps on increasing. Because there is nobody else doing it. The guru, the guru is a temporary psychological device, which turns on the inner guru. At the end of the day, the guru is the self. You are the guru, and so you are turning on your own light, and then that light is going to guide you and give you energy and give you all of what you need to dissolve the darkness. It's almost like, once the light comes on, the darkness has to go. There is no question of it staying. And we essentially see that all of the darkness that we think we had is essentially just made up. Like we were scared of a image of a ghost, and then we actually see, and it's like, oh, there's nothing here. Like, what was I scared of? It's just that we don't have the energy to even shine light in that direction, because we have this idea that it's too scary. But actually there is nothing there for it to be scary. Literally, there's nothing there. And that can only come, that insight can only come once we start to poke holes, and start to put a little light and shine a little light. Because as we shine a little bit of light, we will see that, oh, there's actually, it's fine. There's nothing really happening. I thought there was all this stuff here, but there's nothing here. And it can only come by doing, not by just thinking about it. Because the thinking process does not contact me. So, when we were doing the meditation, we need to start understanding that the thoughts have no contact with me. It's like they're just like clouds that are floating by. And we are so sure that the answer is in one of the clouds. And so we keep trying to manufacture more and more clouds to think that there is some answer that will suddenly pop up and it'll all make sense. The fact is, like, that entire belief that the clouds can really answer anything is the problem. And so we have to start to see the futility of thinking itself, and like letting go. And so we just come back into like this state of non-thinking, non-doing, just being. So all of these things might sound a little unattainable in some ways, but it is there. And everyone already has it in some ways. It's just that there are all these other things in our experience that we constantly take to be real. And so this work is about just shining light and noticing that our assumptions about what I thought was real is actually like completely not true. And it's the assumptions which caused me to have all of these other emotions like fear, anger, and things like that. Does that help, Niladri?
Yeah.
Okay, we're almost at time, so I think we should just stop here. Okay, this is really good. We covered a lot, and so homework, like always, is to meditate. This work will not be effective if you're not meditating, because that is the only way we start to practice being on the banks of the river, and rather than constantly jumping in and feeling like we're getting wet and drowning, right? Like that is a natural tendency to like jump in, and then we get wet, and then we are like, oh no, I got wet. And so instead, by practicing staying on the bank and like feeling the urge to want to jump in and not jumping in, that is going to develop these qualities that we talked about. The uparati, the samadhana, single pointed attention, and then doing that and increasing the time where you can stay on the bank is going to increase self-confidence, the fact that this actually might work. Slowly and surely we will start to get more and more confidence about this work. So, but that only can happen if we practice. So that's the most important thing. Okay? So at least 20 minutes of meditation a day.
What's a good time
Anytime.
meditation?
Anytime is a good
Anytime.
time.
Okay, anytime is a good time.
The
Yeah.
time when you do it is the best time.
Okay. Just sit there. There's million things gonna be running through your mind, but just try to still focus on the breathing.
Yeah, I mean, and do subject-object discrimination. What we did today.
Mm.
I am the subject. I am not the object. Let the objects go. It's like we have the belief that the objects are important, and so we're building this capacity to not get swayed by the objects. That's the whole purpose of the subject-object discrimination. It's like no matter the object, it might be the dearest thought, the most precious thought. Maybe it's about my beloved or the person I hate the most and what I'm going to do to them when I see them next time. All of those thoughts might be happening, but I am going to remain unaffected and let it pass, let it pass, let it pass. Why? Because I am the subject and that's the object. I am not a thought. And so we are constantly learning and remembering actually and seeing and having the perception that I am far away from the thought. It seems like I am like the thoughts are right here, but I want to create like some amount of distance. And so the more distance I have, the freer I am from the thought.
You agree in India?
Yeah. Bangalore.
Bangalore, oh, okay. You visiting or you live in Bangalore?
Oh, no, I live here.
Oh, you live there, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Right, guys.
All right. Thanks for class, everyone. See.
Yeah.
Oh,